This is Happy Monkey.
Hello, no one is available to take your call. Please leave a message after the tone.
Yo, it's the world famous Eddie Cleverhand shouting out my motherfucking dogs. My motherfucking monkeys. The happy monkeys, that is, holding it down. You know what I'm saying? New York City's finest when it comes to the finest things. You know what I'm saying? Hold it down, baby. Let's get it.
This is the fucking Happy Monkey podcast, and today I usually say it's special, but this is just different because today we got some really special people with some really collaborations that we just made. So we got a lot of shit to talk about, man. There's a lot of some art and weed. We've always been fucking activists as far as promoting weed and art, right? Because even in our events, we did a lot of live paintings and a lot of shit. So today we got some special guests, right, Vladimir? You want to come on with some more details for these people?
Yes. These people have put together something new, very nuanced, very 2021 new way of consuming art in a way that
shit is immersive.
That I think in this era of people's short attention spans helps them grasp and understand it better.
Yeah.
So I'm honored to have them here and want to understand a little bit behind the veil, the thinking behind this whole, immersive art thing they have going on. So first we have Dasha.
Yes.
Thank you for coming.
Yes.
And we have
the homie.
Then we have Steve, the man that makes all the images and the projections happen.
Okay.
Yeah. That's you?
I've done not for this show, but I've done projection mapping projects on other shows. This show is a massive one.
All right, so first let's introduce the show, right? So what is the proper name of the show?
The proper name of the show is Immersive Van Gogh. It is not anything else except Immersive Van Gogh. And it is a wonderful show that we brought to New York, and it's part of a whole host of digital art projection exhibitions that we have going on all across the country. So the Van Gogh artwork of Vincent Van Gogh is heavily featured in this show, and this is something that I would love to talk more about.
Exactly. So right before we move on, right? So we describe what the type of art show it is. There's a bunch of projections, and it looks crazy. It's like 4 different rooms. We'll go into it, right? But before we get into that, right, let's talk about the actual person who created the art. Let's talk about Vincent Van Gogh. That's why it's called the immersive, right?
Not a lot of people know more about him than what you just said.
Right.
Starry Night, and maybe the fact that he cut his ear off.
Yep, that's it.
But nobody really knows the artist. So he created, in his short 37 years of life, he created over 1,000 works.
Wow.
And he only ever sold one single one. And it's so sad, he only sold it to his brother. But his brother was a huge art dealer. So really, his brother Theo, he really knew the value of the work. Mm-hmm. And that's why he believed in Vincent, and he always supported him throughout his life. And after Vincent took his own life at the age of 37, he decided that he's not going to stop Theo, so he started dealing this work, and eventually it found prominence only in the 20th century when other artists became really interested in what he was doing, because they realized he was prolific in many ways. So,
Vincent Van Gogh, ladies and gentlemen, right? So he's basically, if you've never heard of him, Google the shit, and she just described Starry Night. I guess if you look that up, you'll see what it is, right?
Starry Night is the most famous work that he created.
Why do you think that is? Why is?
You know why? Because there's 3 Starry Night paintings that Vincent Van Gogh did, and the one actually called Starry Night, then the Starry Night is only the background of the painting. So this was the first time somebody created a painting and named it after what's in the background, because he could have named it The Village. He could have named it
Right.
The cypresses, which are right in the foreground of the painting, they're kind of blocking your view almost of the stars. But you could see this very clear moon and these very clear stars, and you understand that this is exactly what he was looking at and nothing else. He wasn't looking at the village below, he was looking up above. And that is something that everybody can identify with, because we're all kind of dying to look at the stars.
Yeah, we're all stargazers, especially stoners. All the stoners. I
That's right.
haven't met a stoner in the world that doesn't
Give
like
me
to
a
look
good
at the
starry
stars.
night,
Oh shit.
you know?
Right.
And that's what I want. So
what made you guys think of, because again, this is like, for those who don't know, this is a lot of this art is canvas art, right? What made you guys take this different style of Vincent Van Gogh, because he's like a whole different type of painter. For those who don't know, right, he got his own style. That's another thing,
that's
right?
right. A completely unique style.
So what take this canvas art, what made you guys make it into like projection and like and change the whole imagery? Because it's not just like, oh, let's just project the fucking Starry Night.
No, it's moving, it's animated,
Absolutely.
it's three-dimensional at times.
What we have to go a little bit further back.
Let's go.
Because digital art projection is not something new.
Right.
People have been working on it for many years. They've been playing around with digital imagery, trying to bring mapping together with the art world in many, many ways. They've worked on it on theater sets, they've worked on it on exhibitions. But this is the first time that in Europe there was an artist, his name is Massimiliano Siccardi. Massimiliano Siccardi.
I like that. Italiano.
And the composer, whose name is Luca Longobardi.
Okay.
And these two gentlemen are
Let's go
at
see
the
them.
forefront of digital art making in Europe. And they created the famous show that was in Paris called Van Gogh Starry Night. And this show was featured in Netflix series. It was featured in arts magazines. It's kind of all over the world.
People were flying in from all
world
over the world to
famous.
see it.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Nice.
And so one of those people that came to see it was Maria Shklover, who is our lead producer. And
Shout out
so
to
she
Maria.
was
Yeah, I met her.
just
She's feisty.
Maria is 5 feet tall, but her personality is about 8 feet tall.
Yes.
So she came on a family vacation to Paris, went to Atelier de Lumière. I'm so bad at French. Saw this exhibit and became completely obsessed. And said, I've never seen something like this before. We don't have anything like this. We need to have this in North America. And she would not stop until she met these artists and she engaged them, and she and her partners, who are based in Toronto and elsewhere in the world, got together and created this fantastic art exhibit just for North American audiences, where it really delves deep. And this was the choice of the artist. Massimiliano said, you know what I really want to focus on is Van Gogh. I love his work, I admire him, but I want to create a more in-depth experience for my American audiences. And so he created a story. It's a whole narrative that's woven together by over 100 of Van Gogh's works, and they're animated on the screen, so they overlap with each other. And you can see themes, and you can kind of read the story of his life from what Massimiliano created from these images.
Correct.
So that's...
So the other interesting thing is that you're saying that how, we're at sort of, this is like the biggest and the best expression of art digitally that's been done so far. And we're in a time period where we're starting to have these amazing digital projectors. So you can get these 20,000K digital projectors, and you're able to what's called projection mapping, which is really technically map the whole room. So when you step into the exhibit, things are happening in different spots in different places. Every wall is filled with from these projectors. The whole floor is filled. So you're literally stepping into a moving painting.
That's right.
Absolutely. So I got a little bit of the experience, and I felt like a whole timeline. Like I felt like this is when he was over here in Amsterdam painting, and you kind of like see like eras of his paintings and his styles and like
That's
his
right.
inspiration.
Because he was Dutch, but he moved to Paris because he wanted to follow the Impressionists. And he was one of the first post-Impressionists. And the reason he's post-Impressionist is because he painted less romantic notions. He painted real people. He painted the downtrodden people, people with faces that weren't so beautiful, like Renoir. And he really felt a kinship with just masses, and so he really wanted to portray it in his paintings in the most beautiful way possible.
Why do you think, especially, I want to ask you, Steve, like, you having experiences with the projections and the whole technology, why do you think that specifically this immersive experience has caught the attention and the eye of Europe and America and caught fire the way it has since, like Dasha said, it hasn't been the first one, but it's one of the
there's a bunch of elements at play, right? You've got a massive space. They're using close to 100 projectors, and these projectors cost hundreds of thousands of dollars a piece, so it's not an inexpensive installation, right? And you've got an artist that is world renowned, and pieces that people recognize, and then you combine that with the space, the technology, the music, and it's a fully immersive experience. But it's also probably the biggest projection mapping set that you've ever walked onto, and most people have never walked onto any.
That's right. It is the biggest digital show possibly in the world to date because of the sheer size of it.
What is your favorite part of the show? Like, what gets you excited? Because I know you probably saw it a billion times. You saw the setup. Fuck all that shit. The show. What is your favorite part of the show? Yeah, because there's a lot of things. Because I know people. We're just talking about the show, but there's a lot of things you kind of go in there because there's like circles and you can kind of lay down and kind of just watch.
That's right.
So, what's like your favorite? Like, because there's different rooms too. Let's not forget. You know what I mean?
There are 3 different rooms.
Let's describe that first, right?
They are. All 3 of them are quite large in size. They can accommodate at least 400 people in each. And the 3rd room, the largest room, has a reflective marley floor, so the images come through not just on the walls all around you, but also on the floor below.
Nice.
And that really creates an amazing effect. And my favorite part of the show is when people who are sitting on the floor during the Starry Night part suddenly realize they're sitting on a star. And they start moving around and saying, oh my God, look at this. That's really fun to watch.
Oh yeah, so we can imagine the fucking 700 stoners sitting in the circle,
right? Catching stars.
Catching stars. Like, they're gonna be embracing the stars. Like, I'm
right, you could
shit.
lie among them. You could stare at them.
Yeah, man, and just hang and.
The show is a little bit disorienting at times, which is also kind of, it's fun and it's also scary.
It's fun and it's exciting though, because that's what people like. People like the edge, and people like something new. You don't want to just see projection. You want to feel like, oh shit, I'm a part of the projection. You walk into the room, there's a room full of mirrors and like, and like this pattern and stuff like that. So there's like this experience. It's not just you sit around and watch, you kind of feel things, right?
Right, and you're meant to interact with everything around you.
Absolutely.
What I like about it, and this is, I think, a tribute to the producers, is that the minute you show up at the venue, the whole front wall of the venue is Van Gogh, right?
Absolutely.
And it's not like, it's well done, right? And then you go in and there's 400 paintbrushes hanging from the ceiling.
Absolutely.
And a whole
7,500.
7,500.
Whoa.
Oh, it's higher. Okay.
Whoa.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you've never seen so many paintbrushes. They all got dripping with paint, and then from this moment you step in, you're in another world.
Absolutely.
Forget about just the projection part. Like
right.
the whole
the curation of
it. The curation of it. Yeah. From even the merchandise shop is just, it's massive, it's fun.
Yep, it feels different. It feels different. I got a bucket hat. I got me a Starry Night bucket hat.
In there too. There's a rug in there, and how much was that rug?
Oh yeah. She has to pick the most expensive thing.
Yeah,
right. She wants to fly
It's like $1,000 that rug.
What is it?
But how much was that rug? It's like $400.
$700.
Yeah.
What's on the rug? What does it say?
It's the awesome rug.
Does it say Starry Night, or
it's just fabulous.
It's just fabulous. Shit. Okay.
It's very well
Shantae,
made and
everyone.
fabulous.
Yes, sorry, Shantae Patrice.
Well, some of the installations in the lobby even, so right as you come in, you're sort of thrown into this whole Van Gogh aesthetic.
Yeah.
Because of this chandelier, as you said, Steve, that has 7,500 individual paintbrushes, and they're painted and laid out in the pattern of the Starry Night.
That shit is fly.
Then there is a synesthesia booth, and synesthesia is a disorder where you see music and hear
Yes, I was about to
color.
mention
Yeah.
that.
It's a neurological.
First of all,
People are
it's
gonna
fly.
die.
First of all, it's fly. Let's break it down in layman terms, right? So it's this fucking fly ass setup, dope ass booth with the different colors, and it's like different little sections, right? It looks like you can walk through it, right? But you kind of like walk in the middle, because this is what I got. I walked in the middle. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And I walked in the middle, and I look up. It's like yellow or something, and then I read the instructions, right? Because it's right there.
And then a sound
Then the
plays.
sound played. I'm like, oh, okay, so this is what yellow sounds
This
like.
is
Or some
yellow,
shit, right?
exactly.
So it is dope because it kind of like connects you with a tone and a color. You know what I mean?
But
Like,
it's
and
also
I've
very
never even heard of that.
trippy.
It is.
Because
It's super
then
trippy.
you start like being like, really, what does orange sound like to me?
Right, and then it has like this whole like fucking Star Trek. you know when they fucking energize.
It's
and
very,
like,
yeah, it's beam me up, Scotty.
Beam me up,
Right,
Scotty.
totally.
It has like this dope
It's a sci-fi set.
sci-fi
Very
set,
futuristic.
futuristic set. So it's like you're walking into something and you're getting beamed, and then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go into the next one, and then you could kind of go into like a
Right.
bunch of them, and it's real cool. It's like cool
And,
shit.
and all of a
like-
sudden you're hearing color.
yeah, that's super fly.
And it's like every time you go, I've been there twice. I went once when we first went for the meeting, and like I went the second time with my daughter. It's like every time you see something that you didn't see
Right.
before,
Yeah,
or you
you
catch
find new
something
shit.
you didn't find before. You
Right.
know,
And that's, this is the same thing about his paintings too. Every
Right.
time you look at a painting
Yeah.
in real life, and there's more than 20 Van Goghs in New York City at MoMA, at the Met, at the Guggenheim. You can go see for yourself, and really, people are a lot more likely to go see the real painting after they've been to our show, because even if they don't know anything about Van Gogh
Now
besides
you
the
learn.
fact that he cut a zero, they kind of want to see the real thing. They want to understand where this entire digital representation came from, and so I think that's great. And every time you look at his painting, you see something you haven't seen before.
Word.
A brush stroke, an element or something.
so where did this whole immersive thing start? Like the first city, first place, and then how many places and cities is it now?
It started off in Toronto, and we
Okay,
brought it to
international.
Toronto at the height of the pandemic in July 2020.
Wow.
And that was crazy. I don't think anybody even dreamed of opening a door.
Right.
You know,
Absolutely
during
not.
that time, especially not in Canada.
No.
They really
Really
got
They
it.
stood indoors.
They
strict
got
over
it
there.
bad.
Yeah.
And the way we were able to open is we preset social distancing right into the show. We
Nice.
created social distancing circles that were projected onto the floor. And that way people were like, oh, I'll grab this seat over here.
Yeah.
And then they were far enough away from each other and they felt safe. And they also they were given a prompt to go sit down and enjoy the show.
Right. Nice.
And then there wasn't some shows where actually people could drive their cars in?
That
Drive-through?
building,
Yeah, there's a
even
drive-through.
though we're
Oh.
also, the New York building is also large enough to drive
Right.
a few cars through. But we haven't dared to do that yet. But in Toronto, they actually did host a drive-in experience.
Oh, that's wild.
So that's fantastic. You don't even have to leave your
I'm definitely hotboxing the whip. You know what I mean? Hotboxing the whip, pulling up, yo, pull up.
And you know, in
Passenger
Toronto, those
side.
rules are very different. You can just indulge wherever.
Oh, that's awesome. That's beautiful to
The
me.
way people approach it. I think this is going to be New York maybe like 25 years from now.
That'll be New York
With your help.
next year. I
Everybody's
don't
gonna
think
be
you
like,
understand.
oh yes, we're
I
just
don't
like
think you
so
understand. New York, we being safe now. Next year, everybody gonna be smoking. The people smoking outside now. That's it. Like people been waiting for this moment all their lives. It's legalized now. You can literally smoke wherever. You can
don't
smoke a
have to hide
cigarette.
anymore.
So it's literally legal as long as there's no kids around. So you good. So I'm like, next year is gonna be a different story. Forget about 25 years.
I'm just loving the smell of the city now. 'Cause you
Yeah,
walk
the
around-
city, you walk around
Yeah.
everywhere, you
Yeah.
smell the loud
Yeah.
everywhere.
You could tell who's smoking some good stuff,
Yeah.
and who's smoking some not so good stuff, and you're like, good, swag,
Right.
swag.
So now that comes to my next question. I will ask both you guys, and I'll ask you first, Steve, and then
Yeah.
you tell us answers. How do you guys think that the whole experience is going to be enhanced when people when we do this event together and people are able to consume before they go in, you know, and
So the way the Happy Monkey event came to be was that on the premiere night, Shantae and I were there, and we enjoyed it. And I said to one of the producers that and one of the staff members that I would love to come back to see this on edibles.
Absolutely.
And so that grew into the idea, well, how do we do a smoking and edible night? And
Right.
I said, well, if you're going to do that, then you got to have Happy Monkey because there's no one else better to do it with.
That's right.
And that's how this came together. So
But then we kept
Shantae.
waiting on it, right? We kept sitting on it.
Shout out to Happy Monkey.
Oh man,
Then
no,
we
thank you,
waited.
Shantae Patrice.
And then we waited until about 1,000 other people said, this would be so great on weed.
Right.
And then we're like, well, in fact, we are making plans.
Right.
And so now I get to say that to people, and they get super excited. when
Right,
they hear it.
right. And I think this is gonna be a wonderful collaboration because I think people already kind of do it, but being able to curate a safe situation for everyone and a COVID-friendly space and something where it's just for adults and you know all these
Yeah.
things
Absolutely.
factor. Trust me, that just the whole feeling of walking in, just feeling that way, the energy, then smoking.
that's it.
Forget about it.
The place already has energy, but you guys bring a whole other level of energy into
Exactly,
That's
because
right.
that's really what it is. You know, it's matching that type of energy, and the feel is more than anything. You're gonna remember. You're gonna have memorable thoughts and all these things and notes that you took and all that. But the feeling is what you kind of leave with, right? So you walk in there and you go through these different rooms, like we said, the sound, everything that you go through, and you're like, holy shit! And you leave with this thought and this. You know, it's a thing that you leave with, because that's what you leave with, man. That's what you go home with. That's what you go to sleep with, and that's what you go home telling your friends about.
It's more than the technological aspect.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's more
Way
the
much more.
emotional aspect and the act of all of your senses being kind of activated and engaged.
Boom.
And that's really what gets people
Absolutely.
to feel re-energized.
And then
Absolutely.
the comfort of knowing that, you know, everyone's doing it at the same time.
At the same time, right?
It's community that you guys bring in.
Exactly.
You know, so that whole feel comes into the room, and it's just like,
Yep.
you know, it's a unique experience on top of a unique experience.
Correct. It takes away the edge, and then you know, it's an energy thing, right? I always go back to this because then, like you just said, everybody at the same time is already on the same wavelength. You walk in there, the energy is felt
That's right.
because everybody's already on that wavelength.
Everybody's elevated.
Absolutely.
Get a song plug in there.
All the
Yeah.
way up. And I will take that.
Comment throughout the show.
Absolutely.
Just drop a little plug.
I'll take the elevation. Be in there.
And I think that on a deeper level, what it's going to do for society and for the cannabis industry is for other institutions to understand that this is becoming a main part
That's
of
it. It's a
society.
part of society.
And it's going to help them understand that instead of being a con, it's a pro and can only add value to whatever experiences that other people are doing and other institutions are doing. And, you know, I think it's going to definitely be historic.
And I tell you this much on the business aspect: when I'm high, I buy more shit.
I always say never go shopping at Costco stoned.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So like you kind of like go in there and you fucking get inspired all high.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm taking
Everything
something
seems
home.
like it's free anyhow when you're there, but when you're stoned, it's like forget it. You know,
So-
it's like
just saying.
What would be your stone purchase? Besides
well,
snacks.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Last time I took home the bucket hat,
Yeah,
the
bucket hat.
Starry Night bucket hat. So it's something like you find something that you connect with while you're there.
Those has to.
You know what I'm saying? And then as soon as you walk out, there's like fly things, and then you don't hurt. You're not hurting everybody's pocket. So it's like it's things that you can kind of take home with, and
That's
it feels
right.
good. You know what I mean? Like, oh shit, I connected with this part of the art show and whatever the projection, whatever you just connected with. There's something there for you to connect with.
yes, because it's
So
physically
that-
collecting something from the night, right? Yeah.
But it's also because we are here to engage with and promote artists and their artistic process. That's why we really pay a lot of attention to who has created the show and who's behind the music and the actual artwork, animation. And then we also engage local artists to contribute items to the shop. So there's
Nice.
a wonderful artist named Keith Kelly, who created a line of jackets for us that's at the store. We have fantastic sweatshirts.
Were they the flight jackets? Because I saw some flight.
I love
the
those.
flight
No,
jackets.
those are gone already. But they're canvas jackets with either an iris print or the sunflower print. And I do have to say that besides the Starry Night, right, Van Gogh was really known for his work with plants and flowers. He did a ton of thematic paintings where that featured sunflowers, irises, and all kinds of different flowers and plants. And he really spent a lot of time in nature, reconnecting with nature, and seeing his own mental health and his own life through the eyes of natural things. And so one of the things he really focused on, and what the show focuses on, is exploring these themes, how the plant world really comes into play.
The plant world, ladies and gentlemen.
The plant
Come on,
world.
man. We all
Always comes
connected.
back to the plants.
Always come back to the plants.
Now, give
man.
us a little backstory on how the music was curated to match.
Oh
the
yeah,
experience.
then it's like a
Yes.
whole music. Oh, we
There's
forgot.
a soundtrack, of
Yeah,
course.
it's like a whole.
You can't have a digital animation without a soundtrack. And the soundtrack really complements the show, even though it's not a continuous piece of music. There are several pieces of music that are from older composers like Handel and Bach and Mussorgsky. And then there's Tom York and Edith Piaf. You know, and all of these
She just
different
taught me some
pieces
new
of
names.
music, all of these different pieces of music, and all of these different moods, musical moods, they really combine to create a one-of-a-kind atmosphere. You know, because each one of them works together with the part of the show that you can see, and even if they're not completely interconnected, the thing that connects them is the transitional nature of this art.
Nice.
Who understood what I just said? No.
The music.
Not even.
The music. The whole point is that the music is fly, and you're gonna enjoy the whole
The music.
shit. All right.
Steve, so you knowing so much about the technology behind this, what would you say, like, since you say that, you know, the immersive Van Gogh experience is like the end or be all of where technology is hit, where do you see it like going from here on, since you already say that it's already reached a big pinnacle?
I mean, where's our technology going?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're heading into the era of augmented reality, right? So, you know, you'll be able to put a digital layer between you and whatever you're watching. So you put your glasses on, and you know it will tell you all the stats on you. It will tell you who you are. And then there's another form called mixed reality, right? Because the difference between virtual reality and augmented reality is that when you put virtual reality on, you're in the dark. You don't see anything outside, and you're being fed everything through screens. Okay? When you're in augmented reality, it's the opposite. You're seeing the outside, and you're projecting a digital layer on it, right? And now there's another form called mixed reality, which is you're in the dark, but it's got forward-facing cameras all around. So the outside world is being brought in digitally and mixing it with the virtual world.
Oh, Lord.
And that's, I think, where we go in the future with live event.
I'm like, what the fuck?
That's very futuristic.
Yeah.
It's super. That
Well,
shit is like
lot
we're
of-
in the movies already.
There's hurdles to come, like, you know, putting goggles on everybody and
Yeah.
moving and stuff, but that's what's coming. And I think augmented reality is going to become, you know, I was saying to Shantae today that, like, I was wearing an Apple Watch and my phone went dead, and I was able to do almost everything from the Apple Watch, but it doesn't have a video camera yet, right? And I was saying, but the phone is dead. We're going to get rid of our phones in the next few years, and we're going to move to glasses and a watch together, and the glasses are
I
going to
know
have the
some people
computer.
already moved to glasses.
And the, yeah.
So the shit is gonna be immersive all up in your eyes.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you see
yeah,
it.
exactly.
Oh shit! Let me just tap into immersive.
Well, you can also, you know, you
Right,
can
you have to buy that shit
project a
into your
digital
watch.
keyboard from your glasses, and you can take your hands out and type on it that way.
Like Minority Report.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah,
gonna be
it's all here. You know, it's all happening in the next couple of years, and then that will go into immersive events as well.
Van Gogh sunflowers. Boom.
Yeah,
That's it.
exactly.
It's
So-
a little overwhelming.
It's crazy. It's gonna be crazy.
So now let's talk a little bit of cannabis, since we've already covered art. So how do you feel, both you guys, about how cannabis influences creatives artists, technical people, and etc. in society from your experience?
Well, I think that, no one's ever started a fight smoking, right? So it puts you in a good headspace, and personally, when I look for a strain, I'm always looking for is it high creativity, is it high energy? My brain goes way too fast, so smoking helps me slow my brain down to write and create and take ideas I can't get at a normal time, everything out of my head on paper quick enough. So for me personally, that's how it helps me with creativity.
How about you, Dasha? You're dealing with so many artists.
That was good. That was like mass specific. Like that was like boom. Word.
How do you feel like cannabis inspires creativity and people in society?
Well, I think it just, more than anything, I think cannabis and just the culture around it brings people together. And bringing people together is the cornerstone of creativity, because when people get together, they start exchanging ideas. And if there is a dialogue, there's always going to be new ideas.
Absolutely.
So you need to have that little social lubricant of cannabis to keep things going. But people who consume it for personal creative reasons, I completely understand that, because certain things, certain strains, like as Steve said, you'll be like, oh, let me sit down and write this down. Oh, let me sing this now. Let me paint this now, because then it hits, and you're a lot less likely to dismiss your creative impulse. You're gonna go with it.
Right.
And you're going to lead it to wherever it leads you,
There you
so you're not going to go back into like your mundane little everyday life and be like, oh no, I have to go to the store to go to Costco. You're not going to do it. You're going to sit down and compose.
There you go. I like that. Go sit down and compose.
Because you can't stand up. those are jokes I'm good at.
That was me.
That was.
Oh my gosh.
Now, we always ask everybody that comes on here, I want to know your stories, your first time consuming cannabis. How was that experience?
Both of you guys, your first time.
How did that go down?
So I grew up in Montreal, and
Where it's been legal.
From the 6th.
yeah, no, but it wasn't legal back then, and so it's a hash city, right? Weed was a rare
Hash
thing,
thing,
right?
yeah.
So we had like strains like Panama Red and Af Black and all of these like cool strains.
Nice.
And we smoke it. We call spliff, which is the hash and tobacco together rolled like a cigarette. So that's what I smoked the first time, and I was probably 13, and I was, we hung out at the mall as kids, and one of the kids I hung out was a little older, and he had a spliff, and we went behind a stairwell at the mall and smoked for the first time.
And just ran in the mall.
Yeah.
What a classic story.
Absolutely.
I smoked for the first time at my high school graduation. I waited a long time. I was an immigrant child, and my parents didn't have time to look after me, so I had to turn into a big adult. And so I was very serious and very driven. Oh, not so driven. But not so driven because it was 1996 and I was like, ooh, nightclubs. But then I never did anything weird in the nightclubs. I just went dancing. And then when I graduated from high school and we had a party, and then I was like,
I just graduated.
Fuck yeah. And out of nowhere, my friend goes, would you like to smoke some weed? And
absolutely.
That's all.
Was it a joint or was it a blunt? Was it a bong?
It must have been a blunt.
It must have been a blunt. Where was this?
It must have been a Philly blunt.
What? Where was this?
Philly blunt.
Where was this?
It was in Brooklyn.
It was that. Oh, come on. You should have just started. If you would have just started.
It was definitely a Philly.
We would have known. We would have known it was spicy.
All the way around the world to go back to Brooklyn.
Yeah, shit. If you would have just started with that, it was in Brooklyn. Everybody would have went, okay, now we know. Now something's
The 90s Brooklyn, that's a Philly.
90s Brooklyn. She smoked the blunt. She's definitely a part of the Happy Monkey family, ladies and gentlemen. That shit just changed right here. What just happened right there? I was not expecting Brooklyn and a Philly blunt, ladies and gentlemen. This was very dope. I think this was a fly situation, everybody. I think this conversation was really dope. and I think people are gonna enjoy what we all have to bring and what they all gonna experience. Because I think we all feel some sort of way. Because I see you love what you do. See, that's another thing, right? So you gotta kind of have that energy as well, right? Because this is your shit. So it's like
It's my shit. It's my baby. I love art, and I love sharing it, and I love New York, and I love sharing it with New York.
boom.
That's what I was gonna ask my next question. Like, first I'll go with you, then I'll go with you. What was the epiphany for you to get into technology and everything that you got into, like as far as like the projections and just in general, like the technological side?
Yeah, just I mean, I've always, you know, like since high school, I've been interested in you know, I owned like a laser when I was a kid that was illegal, and that no one had a laser. And I used to, my dad was an architect and he was like really cool about that stuff. And we had this house where he wiped out all the walls, so it was like one big thing. And we set up together like mirrored balls and crystals and all kinds of stuff in the house permanently, so I could just screw around with this laser that I had got. So I just like,
Nice.
That's a dedicated dad.
yeah.
Word.
Yeah.
Shout out to Dad.
After that, you knew that was your calling.
I just,
That's
you know,
it. Yeah, that was
but
your
you know, I've been in artist management. I've owned a record company. You know, I've always done technical stuff all along the way.
Yeah. Your art. You are the modern artist. Because right now, digital and art kind of like got a mess right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dasha, what was your epiphany when you said art was your calling, that you were like, I can make a career of this and
Oh my
livelihood?
gosh. You know, I'm at that point with my career where I'm still having imposter syndrome on one hand. And on the other hand, I'm like making so many decisions, and if people are like, Dasha, what about this? And sign.
You the
It's
boss.
So freaking
You the
weird.
boss. You are the boss.
But I
So
keep
we gotta
telling
come
myself
in.
that every morning in the mirror, but it's
Nah,
not
man.
working. But be the boss. But I don't know. My epiphany was that I couldn't do anything else. I had to be in the performing arts or visual arts or something. I used to work with ballet dancers. I used to work with opera singers and really wonderful musicians. I'm like from a musical family. We all play instruments. We all sing. And in a sense, there was a point when I realized that the corporate world would not be for me, because there is none of that there. There's no creativity. It's all of that.
Yeah.
All of that 9 to 5 shit.
Bland. Yeah.
And what at what age, or what was the real thing, like your first actual step into it, like as far as work wise in the art world?
My first job was for a newspaper post college, and I used to write a music column. Because that's really, I wanted to work in music journalism. I used to go and get myself somehow into like pianos and hear some obscure bands and then write about them, and nobody would read it. It was great. I loved it. And then this newspaper ended up sponsoring a film festival. It was a Russian language newspaper, and it was a small time film festival. And they had no budget, and so they wanted to hand it off to someone. And I was like,
there you go. It's always.
And I ran that festival at zero budget, and I got a bunch of sponsors, and we threw an epic after party for this one very popular film at the Anthology Film Archives, and it was just great.
Wait, the after party.
No, not like that though. Not like our after hours party is gonna be. That we had to graduate to this.
Okay, I get it.
Right?
Yo, it's a film
But
festival.
they did have a vodka bar that I
course they
got.
did.
There was like a startup vodka brand, and I was like, you guys can come in and do a bar for my Russian folks. And they were
Absolutely,
like,
that
yes,
makes
please.
sense. Yeah.
And so that cost me $0, which was just
shit.
a taste. You know, once you get out of that like budget rut, you're like, oh, I can do this for nothing. And then when you get a budget, it's like, that's the epiphany. I was like, I can do this and have money. And have money to do more of this.
Right, because it's like you
And to
give more.
market
Yeah,
it.
because you give more. It's like
No, well, I mean, this is a whole new world. We're going to be in 20 U.S. cities by the end of 2021.
boom.
With the Immersive Van Gogh show and the immersive shows that include other artists that are maybe public domain works, plus there's original licensed content coming. Like, we're here for the long haul.
Nice.
And that's when you realize that you need the budget. You can't just get by, on your scrappy self. And so it's a very healthy marketing campaign. Very, very healthy. So I'm very proud of them. My whole team is just a bunch of incredibly competent professionals who are in theater, performing arts world for decades, combined decades. So it's just really a pleasure to be part of something so healthy and robust and growing, and that's really it.
Yeah, no, and it makes sense because they say when you work in what you love, it doesn't feel like work, you know.
Right.
It's just like you're passionate, you would do it for free anyway. So that's why it's like, you know, you're blessed to have that because not many people have that in this world. Like you said, so many people have to go and do whatever they have to do just for money,
Right.
you know. And it's just important to have something that you really passionate about and really care about, and you know, it shows in everybody in your organization of why it's so successful because obviously everybody's so passionate and that's why it's grown so much in such short time.
Exactly.
So what city's next after New York?
So LA just opened yesterday.
Nice.
And LA, I was telling Steve, it opened in the former Amoeba Record Store building. So they are going to be great. For us, New York is wrapping up at the end of August with Van Gogh, and we're going to look to come back with a different show afterwards in New York City.
Oh.
But then we're also going to Boston next, and we're going to open up there before the holidays.
Nice.
Remember where you heard it first, ladies and gentlemen, the Immersive Van Gogh tour.
All right. So when is our dates? When is the whole collaboration with Van Gogh and Happy Monkey? When are those?
So
two
our
dates?
fantastic events are coming up so soon. I don't even know if anybody's going to get to hear this podcast
They will.
before it comes
We'll
out.
push it out
They
before
will.
then. Yeah.
We'll drop it
Our
quick.
event
We'll drop it
is
quick.
next Wednesday, August 11th. And there is going to be a second event on August 18th. But I
Nice.
think everybody should just come on the 11th and see for themselves so that then they can invite their friends to the 18th.
Absolutely.
And be the first ones to have gone.
Yeah,
It's first of its kind.
It's going to be history, you know.
Yeah,
It's like I
it's
said,
the
it's the
first of its
first
kind.
time, you know, high-end art meets high-end cannabis hospitality. You know, I don't think anybody wants to miss that, especially
Correct.
right now after, you know, New York just went legal. Cannabis just legalized after 80 years of prohibition. I think it's the beginning of the roaring 2020s.
Yeah, I
That's
think
And
right.
we
also,
are the spearhead of that.
it's also important to say that it's a COVID-safe event, right? They've got all
Absolutely.
distance and they'll
Yep.
set up for that.
We have a
Yeah.
mask guidance requirement.
Yeah.
We have socially distant areas where people can be safely, watching the show,
Exactly.
indulging, etc. And then
Exactly.
we have a wonderful outdoor space
Exactly.
that we're going to turn into the Happy Monkey Consumption Lounge.
Correct. That keeps everybody
With a beautiful view of
Gorgeous
Brooklyn.
view.
Yeah.
Of
Beautiful.
the two bridges
Right.
Yo, this
and
is
Statue
crazy.
of Liberty and
crazy.
downtown
It's crazy.
Manhattan and Brooklyn.
Yeah.
You can't get more New York than that.
Absolutely. And being on the Lower East Side, it's such an iconic neighborhood, right? And it's so important for this neighborhood to have legalized cannabis.
Absolutely.
Because this is where they started arresting so many people, right, when it all began, like right along with the outer boroughs. And this is where they really cracked down on everything. And so this is the neighborhood that's been suffering for a long time.
This is a
Been
celebration,
historically
ladies and
underserved.
gentlemen. This is a celebration.
So we
ladies and
can
gentlemen.
bring this right back to them.
Yeah. Let's do
As,
it.
as Ramon likes to say, everybody can come out of the cannabis closet now. It's okay.
Closet.
It's legal, and you can consume art right after you consume cannabis.
There you go. So right before we leave, I want to make sure that everybody gets the Instagram correct, because this is there's a bunch of different other ones, and we want to make sure that
Everybody
gets
wants
it.
to be in on the
Yeah.
Van
So
Gogh.
I want to make sure that we get this correctly, right? So if you look it up on Instagram, it's at GOGHNYC. It's Immersive Van Gogh New York, ladies and gentlemen. Please look that up. Follow it. You already know if you want to get some sort of glimpse or experience of the art and the building and all of the above. You already know.
For your tickets, go to happymonkey.com if
There
you
you
want to
go.
go to the Happy Monkey Van Gogh after hours experience. But before anything, it's time for the $1 million question that we
Yes,
ask
yes,
every guest that's been on here.
ask this
And
question?
you
Yes.
you both of you are so intricate and intellectual. I'm really interested in your answer. So the $1 million question we ask everybody, and I'll start with you first, Steve, is that if you had to describe Happy Monkey, the movement, the event, everything that it embodies, in one word, what would it be and why?
Safe.
Why safe? Nobody's ever used that one before.
You know, the first time I experienced Happy Monkey was when he had the lounge running.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, what am I getting into here? Am I going to be comfortable? Is this a safe environment? You know, is it going to get busted?
Right.
You know, and it was, you know, from the moment I stepped in the elevator to experiencing coming through the doors to the dispensary, to all of it was just like, okay, this is pro. You know, this is like the way it can be, not the way it is everywhere else.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I felt safe.
I appreciate
Man,
it.
thank you. Nobody's ever used that. That means a lot.
My man Steve.
And-
Yeah, because he's been around. He's you know, he's not,
exactly.
you know.
And how about you, Dasha?
Oh boy, I'm so bad at being concise.
It's all right. It's just an opinion. There's no right or wrong
She got
answer.
words. You heard her. She said you heard her. She like, I'm so bad at being.
She wants to
concise. I'm
negotiate.
like, what
She wants
the
to
fuck?
negotiate for 5 words.
She got bars, right?
I do. I would negotiate for about 5, 6 words, 5, 6 sentences. But I think one word that can be used to describe this organization is enterprise, because there are so many
Why? Nobody
ideas
does that.
flowing, and there are so many people involved from completely different walks of life, and it is just like an industry leader that you can tell right away.
Oh, that was huge. That's manifesting
Come on.
life right there. Thank you. I appreciate that. Oh man, I think this was a good one, ladies and gentlemen. I think you guys are gonna enjoy our energy at the immersive situation. All right, because it's gonna be crazy. Yes. Yeah.
And remember, ladies and gentlemen, we don't do it for the clout, we do it for the culture. So for now, remember everybody out there, you know, it's been a rough time, but now, like I said, we're entering the roaring 2020s.
Yes, sir.
We are, you know, spearheading that. We're doing amazing collaborations like this. Remember, everybody out there, you're too blessed to be stressed. Things will get greater later. For now, checking out Vlad, Steve, Dasha, Ramon. Till the next episode, peace, love, and happiness.